Welcome to my second stream, the second video in this series where I built modular 28mm fantasy dungeon. In the last video, that's in YouTube now. I'll link it later. I painted the 4 elements in the base gray, a mix of cheap acrylics and PVA glue. So all the walls on the top have been painted with the base color gray mix. The plan for this video and tonight's work is to paint the floor, paint spot colors on the walls, paint the floors, and stone details where it's possible to do. So first things first, before painting the tiles on the floor, I'm gonna use a cheap and watered down brown to try and color all the sand pieces behind the tiles. And then I'm gonna paint the tiles afterwards. And this is just gonna be quick, dirty, ugly. This is just cheap, watered down PVA glue and acrylics. When I'm done painting the entire thing, I plan to give everything a homemade layer of homemade brown wash as well. But I figure it's much easier to cover all the sand now and then paint the tiles afterwards than going the other way. That would force me to use a much finer brush and spend much more time painting up the sand bits. And as is the rule with all my builds, speed is the key. I always want to get done as quickly as possible, get a decent look with minimum time spent. I still consider most of the stuff, the finished stuff that I do above what a lot of people would call tabletop standard. I think it's a bit above that, but still done very quickly. Because like any wargamer and any miniature painter, I have more than enough stuff in storage that I want to get done. So I don't want to waste time on projects. Get them done, get moving to the next board, the next theme, the next setting as quickly as possible, while still getting a decent looking result. Like that, quick and dirty. Just paint up all the areas where there's sand, so they're brown, and then I'm gonna paint the tiles with a bit more care as the next bit. So this one tile done just now. This has to dry for a bit, so I've already, before starting the stream, painted brown on some of the other tiles. So next up, everything has been painted with the gray mixed with PVA glue, and I'm happy to say that the idea with with mixing PVA glue into the acrylics works. I can feel on the foam that it's harder, and the top that has had a layer of PVA glue, sand, and the acrylic mix with PVA glue on top of that as well is really hard, so it's not going to break unless you're really hard on the tile while working. So in the earlier video, I mentioned that I've mixed a huge pot of gray in the same color, and I've made sure that I have enough for all the 9 dungeon tiles that I'm going to make. So I don't have to mix the same nuance again. Same goes for a color I've made for the floors. I've made sure. Let's see if the camera can catch the difference in color. It's a bit hard. So the floors, I made sure to mix a darker gray with the more brown in it. I made sure to make a lot. My plan is to all the areas that connect to another tile, all the corridor areas. Another one here, because these are the areas that's going to mix and match when lining up the dungeon and setting it up in different configurations. So I want these connecting parts, a room, the corridors, they need to have the same floor color to tie together nicely. And then for bigger rooms like this and the room over here, I'm gonna go with a more HeroQuest approach, using different colors other than gray, blue, green, make a checkered pattern in one room to add more color variation and make the dungeon pop and not be too flat. So the plan now is to paint all the corridor areas and the rooms linking up to a corridor in the same gray that I mixed a bunch of earlier today. It's pretty thick. We'll have to see if we need to water it down a bit. And this is just cheap acrylics, the cheapest kind you can find. Cheap brown, cheap black, cheap white, a bit of PVA glue because it makes everything harder, and a bit of sand just to add some grit and texture on the tiles. I've just been using frozen pizza boxes, so they're all flat, not much detail in that. So hopefully I have the right amount of sand to just add a bit of grit to the tiles. That will also make the brown wash cool up better at the end stage. Will my kids have the same experience with HeroQuest in these highly digitalized days? Yes and no. So I have 4 kids, and 3 of my kids I haven't made myself. They came with my marriage. And back when I got into the family, and that was 7 years ago, so they were smaller, and I have a picture of these two, the 2 oldest, adoring small kids, and they had a really nice time playing HeroQuest with me. They enjoyed it a lot, but they haven't been enjoying miniature games a lot. They have tried a few, but it's just not to their taste. So that's okay. They do paint a miniature once in a while, but they don't like it enough to grow their skills because they don't enjoy it that much. So not really. But my youngest son, who is 6 years old now, and he has been playing with my models for the last 2 years, using them as toys. Some break, then they have to fix them. And he likes playing games, and he has played HeroQuest with me before. Rangers of Shadow Deep, we started playing together with me kind of working as a game master, and he likes painting miniatures. He plays with miniatures every day. So yeah, I've no doubt he's gonna be hooked for forever. Uh, no doubt about no doubt about that. So, all right, that was the first layer of paint on the floor tiles, and I'm not entirely happy with the color. There's too much brown showing through, so it's gonna need to have another layer of paint done. And I think I'm just going to water down the paint mix that I've done for it. It's a bit too thick. It's also going to be quicker to paint another layer if it's just a bit thinner. And then I think it's gonna look good. Let's get a brush. Oh, this makes all the difference in the world. That other brush was too damn hard. Maybe, yeah, there's two options. Maybe the other brush, I've been using it at some point for Army Painter Quick Shade Varnish, and it's all hard from that. Or I just messed up one of my wife's expensive brushes for doing actual paintings. So I hope it's the first, but it's probably the latter because it's been a very long time since I've been using Army Painter Quick Shade Varnish. So don't tell. Yes, this is much better. All the difference in the world using a soft brush and giving it another layer of paint. See if it's visible in the camera. It is. It is. A lot better. And quick. I think I'll still be painting the tiles first one way, then the other. I'm not sure it's going to show up when all done, but if the brush strokes are visible, it is gonna add something. Oh. I don't mind some of the tiles, the sand between the tiles gets a bit of a gray dry brush on the brown that I did before. Doesn't matter. Don't care. I just don't like the color. Whenever I do terrain, I make sure to paint everything. I don't like the look of sand or a stick from the garden or a small rock used on terrain. You have to either paint the stuff or at least give it a layer of wash. My terrain, at least, my terrain is not done realistically enough for a natural stone or stick or sand to blend in. It looks out of place with walls like this, for example, or a house built of popsicle sticks and cardboard. Then something natural. It looks off. But a quick layer of wash will actually do a lot about that and make it look much better. Oh, this is the way to go. 2 layers. All right. Would never do that on a miniature. 1 layer of paint, wash, done. And for these floors, I'm just going to use all manner of different colors. Brown, green, gray. I might have to step out and get some more white, so I'm able to actually make some more gray the floors. I don't want all the floors to have bright colors. Let's just try going with this ugly gray brownish color for this room. It's not too bad. Not too bad. Actually, should just bit of sand. That grid. Yes, that's good. So yeah, the floors are going to add a lot to the effect of breaking up the dungeon from being some monochrome gray blob. Hi, no sound. No, sorry. Huh? All right. Well, good thing you can hear something. So the floors, as I was saying, the floors are gonna add a lot in terms of breaking up the dungeon when it's all set up, covering a huge flat surface. If all the floors was the same color and you're standing from a tabletop distance looking down playing with models, it would be I'm certain it would be boring if all the floors were the same color. So making sure that each tile has multiple different floor colors is gonna add a lot of detail with no extra work to the dungeon. And then adding carpets here and there might even add some more. So I already have a lot of this brown, so I'm just gonna move this tile aside and use the color in another room. So this large room right here was the one, this tile was the one I had originally planned to be a permanent prison tile. That's why it's so big. And these details on the walls, like this, I wanted to paint these as metal and then do some bars and prison cells that was permanently in place. But I couldn't find a good way to make the doors for the prison cells. I was planning to use barbecue skewers from bamboo and cork to make the prison cells, but I couldn't find a good way to make a cell door easily enough, and that made me skip building a permanent prison. And I'm really glad that I did. because it just adds more utility to the entire build, that I'm able to use this large room as a barracks, uh, a chamber in a tavern, for example, a kitchen, because there's plenty of space. And then I'm just gonna add, I'm gonna make some prison cells on some bases that I can add if I want this to be a prison, or I can build a prison cell on any of the other tiles if needed. So no permanent structures in any of the dungeon tiles. That's also why I've skipped the idea of making streams through some of the floors. It'll be easier to just make a small piece of terrain with a stream and put on top. Instead. This has turned into a really weird color. Sort of Wehrmacht gray, green. Like it can't really decide which color it's wanna be when it's drying up. So I might have to do 2 layers of paint in this room as well. Never mind. So right now this looks bad. I'm not sure bad. I'm not sure bad is the right word. It doesn't look good enough. It looks a bit too much like a school project, something that my students could make at the moment, because it's lacking the finer details. But every single time I paint a miniature using this same technique, I have the same feeling before it's done. Until that layer of wash at the end, it just looks like crap. Yeah, I'm not sure about the blood soaked, extremely blood soaked floors either, or slime and stuff like that. I'm not gonna add those kind of gory details because they would just look out of place for a lot of settings that the build could be used for if there's not blood on the floor. I am working on a torture chamber at the moment, painting bits up for a torture chamber. I have a few Reaper Bones terrain pieces that is torture chamber styled. I'm trying to add some blue. See where it goes then. Need some more. I'm also preparing bits. I'm not gonna be able to do it this month because it's not part of my pledge. But I'm also doing bits to make a kitchen. I don't really have that many bits to make a kitchen, but a kitchen would be nice in a dungeon setup. So I've started putting away different terrain pieces that can be used for a kitchen setup. For some reason, and I don't know where they're from, perhaps ogre bits, I'm not sure, but I have a lot of meat, spare rib sides, and the like. I'm gonna put them on a board so they look like, yeah, like a butcher. It's been putting up meat on a board for sale. And the next Dunkeldorf miniatures Kickstarter is running, and that is going to give loads of tavern inspired bits as well, tankards of ale, plates with food. There's a lot of plates as well in the terrain crate stuff, so it shouldn't be a problem making a castle's kitchen or something like it. This gray turned out really dark, despite having added a lot of blue to it. I can go even further with the blue, I think, because I want a blue floor. I also want a red floor. Okay. Let's just see if it's a bit hard to see if there's any kind of difference in the gray on the camera, but I can. The one in the room here is lighter, and that's what's important for me, that it's different, but I think I'll need to go over it again with more blue. Because this tile is getting too gray and gray. That's not good enough. So, see, some blue, just a bit of gray because this is king blue. That's just gonna be a bit too royal. This is gonna be toned just down just a bit. Yeah, this is better. Let's see how that goes. Yes. I don't think there's a thing called earthy blue, but this is as close as it gets now. With the blue, I have to be a bit more careful not to get too much blue on the sand, because that's gonna look off. Yes, this is gonna add some nice color to this dungeon tile. So some of the stuff that I'm also painting this month, so that's within the next 10 days, it has to be finished. A lot of storage room pieces, a wizard's study, an armory, and the torture chamber. And all in all, it's turning out to be a lot of different pieces. But I'll make it. And it's going to be interesting to see when all those pieces are painted up, if there's actually enough to fill out the dungeon. I don't want the dungeon to look abandoned or empty after setup. There's nothing as sad as an unfilled table. Tables need loads of terrain, always. And what really makes them pop is all the scatter pieces. You can't have too much terrain scatter on a board. Almost. And almost nothing. Because that's what make the table pop and come alive. That's all those little scatter pieces. And that's going to be the same in this dungeon. Because that really is a problem in a lot of games, isn't it? That the dungeons doesn't really look like they serve any function. And the architect who built those sewers in Diablo 2 in the second world, what a terrible job. Or the dungeon under the monastery in the first world. Such a mess. This might just be what I'm going for. I think this looks good. It looks very blue on the camera. I think the color is a bit off on the camera. It's too bright blue. This looks almost like king blue. But here, for my eyes, there's a nice amount of gray mixed in, so it doesn't look too off. Should probably just add some blue here at the door. That's really fits the other things. There we go. All right, let's make a room floor in this one. Corridors might actually just be too dark. I'm gonna do a small checkered pattern in this room. Red. Blue. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, this is this small annoying room that's gonna be never be used in games because it's going to be impossible to actually move miniatures around down there. And there's even a room smaller than this on the last tile. If you want to make rooms as small as this one, do not make the walls as high. I do like the look of the high wall. It makes it feel real, not cheating, because I am building a 3D dungeon. That's what I want. So making half walls or quarter walls feels like cheating and not going. Then what's the point? If going half walls, you might as well just play on a flat board as usual. Good terrain pieces are inconvenient. Ooh. Just about, just about done with the floors. There we go. One room left. Let's go with something green. That one. This is a good color. I like this one. And then I'm really liking some music in this streaming business. But this stream tonight is also mostly to get more material for YouTube. And it's now 1.5 hours long. It's too long for a good YouTube video anyway, so most will be cut out, and then it'll just be centered about the pieces where I'm talking about using colors, showing a bit of painting, skip to the complete stuff. Found out on Twitch that if I stop the stream and start it again, on Twitch I can combine the two into a single highlight. So that would mean I would have to download the files and use some other video editing software to splice and merge the things together. I don't want to spend that time right now. We're just gonna let it roll. Let it roll. Let it roll. Let it roll. Oh, that's that room done. Let's see. What? Gray, green, red, and blue. Need to capture some good photos of it in daylight instead of this weird light from the heater. And, this room actually needs something color. There's no color on this tile. Go with a blue floor in that tiny little room. And that is the flooring all done. Let's see if we can get a nice picture of the four tiles together as a wrap up for tonight. Progress shot. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna end this video right here. We finished all the floors. I've been painting all the walls. Walls are base colored. All the floors have had a base color. The corridors are all the same nuance of dark gray. The other rooms have green, browns, grays, and red, some patterns for a nice different look. In the next video, I'm going to focus on painting those spot colors, making individual stones stand out, paint the archways and the stones around the doors in lighter or darker colors to make them pop. And then it's time to wash the entire thing and call it done. Thanks for watching. Make sure to drop a like and a follow, a share, whatever on some of all the social media platforms for my blog. It helps it grow. Especially, please consider dropping a follow and some share here on YouTube and on Twitch because they are the newest and they need to grow. I need a bunch of followers to even open up all the functions that I want to have in this next part of blocking, which is live videos. So thanks for watching. Until next time.